In this episode of The Breakdown, I'm going to talk to you about how I tether my Sony Alpha cameras to my laptop computer using Capture One.
Adorama TV presents The Breakdown with Miguel Quiles.
Welcome back to The Breakdown. My name is Miguel Quiles. I'm a Sony Artisan of Imagery, and today we're going to talk about tethering. It's one of the most common questions that I get, and it seems like a very complicated and a very difficult thing to do, but in actuality, it is very simple and it's a very powerful way for you to learn your lighting, to learn your camera settings, to see exactly what your images look like without evaluating them on the very small screen on the back of the camera, and instead using your laptop computer. So it's a very easy thing to do, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to break down everything that you need to know about tethering a Sony Alpha camera to your laptop. Now let's talk about the actual products that you're going to need in order to shoot tethered in the studio or even outdoors, because tethering is one of those things that most of the time when you think tethering, you think in studio. But for myself, I actually do a lot of tethering on location as well. So it could be done anywhere and it could be done very simply. But first things first, the one thing that you are going to need is a tether cable like this one. This particular tether cable is made by a company called Tether Tools. It is a fantastic product, and I would tell you after many years of shooting tethered in the studio, I've tried many different tether cables and tether options out there. I've tried very inexpensive cables that were overseas brands, no-name brand USB cables, and I found that in some way, shape, or form, either the cables or the connections don't last very long. Oftentimes I'll get errors where I'll plug in the camera and I'll start shooting and all of a sudden the laptop doesn't see the photos anymore. The most consistent experience that I've had shooting tethered has been using these cables from Tether Tools. So this tether cable is connected via USB to my MSI laptop, and this laptop is running a version of Capture One, which is Capture One Pro, which will allow me to be able to preview the images on a large screen. This is a 17-inch screen on this laptop, and it's going to allow me to preview each of these images as they come through. Now there's some other features that actually are part of this Capture One setup, which are really, really cool and really awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and take a first shot here so you guys can get an idea of how the tethering works and what it does, so that way when you go ahead and you try it, you'll know exactly what to expect. Okay, so before I demonstrate how to tether using Capture One and using this setup that we just talked about, I also want to make sure to bring particular attention, because I didn't mention it, but one of the things you may want to consider if you're going to be shooting tethered is to pick up a good tether table. Now these are also made by Tether Tools, and they're really fantastic because you could set them up on a tripod, you could set them up on a rolling stand, and you can kind of move around and maneuver them where you need. There's also additional accessories that you can pick up for these tables, where you can put your hard drives and hook up even drink holders, camera holders, different items and accessories to be able to quickly access them when you need them. So definitely check out the Tether Tools tables. But let's talk about this setup here really quickly. So we have everything in terms of our table. Our laptop is set up, our camera's set up. I went ahead and I pre-tested the settings for these particular images that we're going to shoot just to see how they would come out. And so I've got this set at f11, 1/160th of a second, ISO 100. And let's go ahead and let's see what happens when I start shooting these images. And I'll give you two different ways that you can shoot images using Capture One. Okay, so the first way that you might end up shooting tethered in the studio is basically just the same way you would shoot normally, which is to go ahead and take your shot using your shutter button on your camera. So let's go ahead and take a shot here. And so again, you'll see the image pop up on the screen, and I do want to mention here that when you are shooting tethered, the images are not actually being stored on your SD card on your camera. They're actually being saved on your computer's hard drive, which is pretty awesome. That saves you a lot of time in editing and in post-production, because instead of having to take the photos on your camera and then transfer multiple gigabytes of data in many cases to your laptop, you could actually go ahead and it transfers right over into the laptop computer as soon as you take the images. So that's one of the first ways, and that is the first way that you can go ahead and use this tethered setup, is to just go ahead and snap your images. And again, this could be a model, this could be products, this could be whatever. There's a lot of people that use this in real estate photography as well, to take pictures of interiors and exteriors of homes. But again, very simple setup. And you'll see here momentarily that the images will pop up on the laptop screen. Now, the other way for you to be able to do this is to actually use the Capture One software to be able to shoot these images. So let me go ahead and show you how that works. Okay, so I have Capture One here set up on my screen. And one of the things that I also want to point out to kind of help you guys out when you're shooting tethered, anytime you connect your camera to your laptop, you want to make sure that you see the camera information here in this little panel of Capture One, which is on the second tab up here where the camera icon is. And so this will tell you your camera that's hooked up, your camera settings, your white balance, if you're shooting in RAW, what your aspect ratio is. Basically everything that's set up internally in the camera, you can actually control much of that here on this little tab. If you go down below as well on this little camera tab down low, you'll notice what your camera settings are. And there's a little icon that's pretty cool here. There's a little movie icon here that in the beginning I thought was actually shooting video, but it does something really, really excellent. If you click on that, and wait a moment, you'll notice that a little window opens up here to the side. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and off camera, I'm gonna position this little camera in different ways. And you notice it's live view that is being set up. And you could see that from your laptop computer, which is pretty awesome. So I could go ahead and I could set this thing up and frame it exactly how I want to in the frame. I can go ahead and get this thing in focus. And if I wanted to, I could go ahead and from the setup here, I could go ahead and take images. So it's very easy for you to be able to go and take an image using this live view window. And what you'll do is at the very top here, there's a little button. It looks like a camera, and when you hover over it, it will say capture. And you simply press that button and boom, you take a photo. Now in the other window, you'll notice the image will pop up. And you can go back and forth in between these two windows. If you have a second monitor set up, that's also a really cool way to do this. You can have the live view window in a separate monitor and then have Capture One running on the second monitor. And you could have both of them up at the same time. And again, from here, I could go ahead and I could shift this around, get some different orientations and different positions for this image. So we'll center that right there. Go ahead and get that in focus and take another shot. So again, super easy, very easy for you to be able to capture the image, whether you're just using the software to take the image or if you are physically taking the image, pushing the shutter button on the camera. Now, once you've taken this image, again, these are all being saved onto the hard drive of your laptop device. But what's really awesome is that you could go ahead and you could zoom into these images and see full screen what the image looks like that you just shot. So for example, I could take a look at this really close up and I could see a lot of dust. This is stuff that I would not be able to see if I was shooting with this particular camera looking at the back of the screen, because the screen is a lot smaller. Even if I zoom in, it might be a little bit difficult to see some of these details. So this would be something that, let's say if you're photographing a model or you're photographing somebody in the studio, you know, maybe the makeup needs a little bit of adjusting, or maybe there's an eyelash or something that is in the way that you want to get rid of. This is a really quick and easy way for you to be able to see the images much closer and much bigger. This helps you out. This helps out your makeup artist and hairstylist and anybody else that is on set helping you to create the best images possible. So there you have it, folks, a very easy and simple way for you to tether your Sony cameras to your laptop computer using Capture One. I hope you guys enjoyed it and I hope you learned something new today. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you subscribe to Adorama TV's YouTube channel. There's tons of great content here for you to spend hours and hours to brush your photography skills up. And also make sure that you check out the Adorama Learning Center, which has many, many amazing articles, reviews, all sorts of information that you might find interesting for your photography. Thanks again so much for watching, and I will see you again next time on the next episode of The Breakdown. Bye, everybody.